A man who has never once stepped on Ubin at all had a series of recurring dreams of this girl wanting a doll to be brought to her place of death. He saw everything in front of him was exactly as how he had dreamt. He asked for something in return. So in this case, he asked for 4D. He struck first prize.
Wow.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Haunting History. I'm your host Eugene and in this special Halloween edition, we aim to unveil the hidden stories and remember the long forgotten histories of some of Singapore's most haunted locations. Today I have my guest with me, a very special friend of mine, Johnathon Lim. So if you have watched us on Supernatural Confessions, this is my co-host, the man before time on Friday Night Live.
Pleasure to be here.
And because I know you very well, and I know this is not something you share with many people, about your lineage, the history of your family line.
So about 10 years ago, my family managed to find our village in China. Right, we managed to follow these scattered clues like a Dan Brown novel, and we found the village, we found our extended family, and we found our jiapu, our family genealogy, right? And in that book was something quite astounding. 26 generations ago, our aunt was a lady named Lin Mo. She was a prodigy, right? She could recite scriptures at a very small age. And at the age of 18, she ascended to heaven and became Ma Zhu, the goddess of the sea, or Tian Ho, the empress of heaven. So yeah, that's my aunt.
So you see, people say they're in the presence of celebrity. I can say I'm in the presence of deities. So today we're going to be talking about a place that we spoke about on many occasions.
I mean, quite sadly, everyone's heard of it. It's one of the most well-known yet least visited sites.
So while this shrine stands as a historical monument, its entire story is shrouded in tragedy, mystery, and dark tales. So today we're going to peel the layers of this German girl shrine and reveal to you, is it true? Is it not? And all the different stories and urban legends in between. At first glance, the German girl shrine seems like a modest structure. Yellow brick wall in the middle of nowhere on the southwestern side of Pulau Ubin. But what's strange about this shrine is that if you go in, it's full of dolls. Now that alone will probably freak a lot of people out.
So the common history is that there was once a German family on the island, perhaps connected with a coffee plantation, right? And during the lead up to the First World War, right, the Allies were rounding up the German residents, and so they came to the island and swept up right, the family. And in her panic, the youngest daughter, or the only daughter perhaps, ran from the soldiers in the night and lost her way, fell into a quarry or off a cliff, there are various versions, and was never found until much later. The local villagers found her, right? And they started revering her. I even heard some of them had hauntings, saw her white spirit walking around. So because of that, they decided this is important for our island. Maybe she'll become a protector. So they started to revere her, worship her. Perhaps they exhumed her remains and transferred her to something, and that shrine grew in popularity. I don't know when the Barbie dolls began. I guess they decided to upgrade her offering to something that suited exotic European lady a little bit more.
When you were there 5 years ago, the shrine still looked very rustic. If you go there today, the shrine is almost really built up. They went through a whole facelift during the COVID.
Who funded that?
I don't
big facelift,
know.
yeah. It looks massive now. It's lost its traditional yellow look, right? There used to be a little yellow shack. Now it's a whole building, right, with a sort of extension at the back, right? So it's kind of impressive.
In 1910, Pulau Ubin was part of the British Crown Colony. In 1914, when the war started, German, the Allied forces and everything, knowing that there were two German families on Pulau Ubin, going by the name of Brent and Mulligan, the British came over, rounded them up, about to intern them. But then again, there's also other parts of the story where it said that that's not where she died. She died at the cliff of the quarry. Her body was found by the Chinese residents of Pulau Ubin, who said that her entire body was covered with ants. So what they did was to give her proper burial. Because she was a Roman Catholic, put a cross on her tomb. It was only later on, when the quarry was being dug for other purposes, that the quarry manager decided to honor her and remove her remains from the quarry site to the current location.
You mentioned the quarry, right? And I think this is something we both discovered recently, which is that quarrying in Ubin was not happening that early.
Yes.
It was only when they needed granite to construct Changi Camp,
Yep.
right, at the start of World War II, that they started quarrying Ubin.
Correct.
So there was no quarry for her to fall into.
Well, what's really interesting as well is in some official account written by Dr. William L. Gibson's claim that there are no Germans living there and no coffee plantation. So where did the original history came about?
Sticky memory, right? There was in the late 1800s
Yeah.
coffee plantations. There were, right?
Okay.
There were many which were by the early 1900s, before the First World War, already converted into rubber plantations because coffee, the price was sinking, right? The industry was dead, right? It was the 1800s industry, right? By 1900s, everything was rubber. Especially with the war coming, definitely rubber. There were those two German families, but did they live on the island? No, they owned one of the coffee plantations, right? There was a coffee plantation known as the Pulau Ubin plantation. Ubin, O-B-I-N, so quite interesting, right? The Pulau Ubin plantation was owned by these two Germans, but there was no record in the directory of any German families there, and definitely no young ladies. So there is a mystery. Where did this sticky memory come from? Even if she didn't die there,
Yeah.
she must have been there at some point for the islanders to think, oh, there's a German girl on our island. How do you not know, right?
Pulau Ubin German girl story was actually popularized by this guy called Chia Yen King, who lived in Pulau Ubin from 1928 to the mid-2000s when he passed away there.
Okay.
So he claimed to be somewhat of an expert on the legend. In fact, in a print interview in 1987 in Xinmin News Daily, he mentioned that the German girl was of Dutch-German descent. If she was actually of Dutch-German descent, back then the British had nothing to do with the Dutch. If they were from Holland and she's Dutch descent, she'd likely be untouched. So that part of history don't quite corroborate again.
This is where you would want to consult a war historian, right? And ask them questions regarding internment. If you've read anything about the British in Singapore, they were extremely gentlemanly. You know, as soldiers, they were extremely gentlemanly. They would never have done that.
Whose soul is in that shrine? Is it really a German girl? If it's not the German girl, whose is it? I'm going to tell you as well about how the Barbie dolls came to be.
Okay.
Right? A man who was in Singapore, mainland, who has never once stepped on Ubin at all, had a dream about her. So the man had a series of recurring dreams every night of this girl wanting a doll to be brought to her place of death. So one day he decided enough is enough. I'm just going to buy a doll. He bought a Barbie doll, took a bumboat over from Singapore to Pulau Ubin. When he landed on the dock, on the pier, he saw everything in front of him was exactly as how he had dreamt. So he made his way all the way to the very spot where the spirit had instructed him to go. He placed the doll there. And Chinese men being Chinese men, what do we do when we give things to spirit? We ask for something in return. So in this case, he asked for 4D. He struck first prize.
Wow.
But it's kind of secret, hard to keep, right? He's very proud to tell people. So he told a best friend, says, don't tell anyone I'm telling you this. So the best friend did it. He also tried 4D. And guess what? He told his best friend. And that's how the whole story started to propagate. Whether the German girl shrine is of genuine spiritual significance or a carefully crafted legend, Pulau Ubin German girl shrine continues to fascinate visitors from across the generations. And also a poignant reminder that Singapore is not just about development and progress, but also the mystery, the tragedy, and its dark stories. So the next time you find yourself at Pulau Ubin, take some time to visit the German girl shrine. But remember, the past have a way of lingering in the dark shadows. That's all for this episode of Haunting History. Join in next time as I explore the other hidden parts of the city where history and supernatural collides. Stay curious, stay cautious, but remember, not all parts of Singapore is as empty as the eyes can see. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment,
Share and subscribe.
You know so much about Pulau Ubin history. I suspect you've been there all along since the 1800s.
No, not true.